Failed presidential candidate and Doomsday prophet Al Gore recently blasted the president as a supervillain who is solely to blame for global warming. Watch this.
Donald J. Trump is now the face of climate denial. And there are those who are still giving him their loyalty and trust, and I get that, believe me, but the vast majority of Americans, not to mention all around the world, are really kind of, they've had it.
Weird he never became president. But Gore is at least more restrained than Jim Sciutto over on CNN, who said that Trump was going to cause the death of the entire planet by causing it to burn to death.
He keeps saying, well, we have record clean environment, doesn't get to the temperature. We got kids. We don't want to be, slowly burned to death on our own planet here.
The latest The View, meanwhile, argued about whether Trump was trying to suffocate the planet rather than set it on fire.
I think these people would rather have $1 billion in the bank than breathe. I really do. Well, they'd rather have money than breathe.
Do you think that Al Gore would rather have $100 million in the bank than breathe? Because he sold Current TV for $500 million to Al Jazeera, which is its gross domestic product is oil and gas. He made oil money. There's so much hypocrisy on the left with this. I'm sorry, Leonardo DiCaprio had 418 tons of CO2 last year.
He's not.
You want to change hearts and minds? Stop lecturing Americans.
I do take private planes. I'm not going to lie.
It's a fun show, The View. Author and columnist Mark Stein joins us tonight. So, Mark, the scientific conversation on warming always begins the same way, which is, I'm a good person and you're not, so shut up and obey. This is a global phenomenon. It's happening all around the world, and it's happening in France, where the French government has just said, we want to slow down climate change, so we're taxing gasoline. And there's been this kind of revolution in response from the left and the right. The entire French middle class, tell me if I'm misreading this, has risen up to say, no, this is a scam. You're punishing us under the guise of making the planet better, and we're not putting up with it anymore. Do you think this is part of a global change in the way populations respond to climate hectoring?
Yes, I think so. I think climate hectoring was on the verge of a mass movement around the turn of the century. And then, because all the climate models turned out to be disastrous, people came to understand it for what it is, which that it's a boutique, niche concern. It's, as the ladies on The View were saying, it's for those who take private jets. So Leonardo DiCaprio and Al Gore can fly by private jet to climate conferences. Al Gore's house in Tennessee has a carbon footprint 20 times bigger than the average American home. But that's because he's being virtuous and using his carbon footprint to save the planet, whereas you, Joe Schlub of 27B Elm Street, need to give up your washing machine and your dryer and be beating your clothes dry with the native women down on the rocks by the river, beating your loincloth dry.
But so let me ask you a sincere question. If you really believed that climate was the greatest challenge we face, why would you even allow private planes to exist? I'm sincere in that question.
Because I think it is actually a form of class war. It's a way, well, in macro terms, it's a way of the developed world denying the developing world any chance to live the kind of lives that people in the developed world live. And then within developed countries, it's a way for elites to tell people that, when it's just Al Gore and the Prince of Wales flying around having climate conferences, everything's fine. But the minute Mr. and Mrs. Joe Schmo want to take a vacation in Florida, then the whole planet's going to broil. It's an elite thing.
Exactly.
Nobody takes it seriously. Al Gore said we had 10 years to save the planet in January 2006. So we're almost 3 years past his sell-by date now. I mentioned the Prince of Wales. He was more specific. He said we had 96 months. So that was June 2017. And we're still here.
I can't believe it.
Saying the world is going to end.
I'm especially glad that you're still here. Mark Stein, one of the few real geniuses I know. Thank you.
I'm way past my sell-by date, Tucker.
Me too.